Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something huge, something that's usually hidden from sight, but it's actually one of the biggest engineering and environmental challenges we face today. All right, let's jump right in with a question for you. What's the biggest thing humans build? And no, I'm not talking about skyscrapers or massive dams. Think bigger. Think about something you've probably never even seen, something that literally dwarfs all of those.
Believe it or not, it's the structures the mining industry creates. We're talking about man-made mountains, so vast they completely reshape the landscape. And they're designed to last forever, filled with all the waste that's left over after we get the minerals that build, well, everything around us.
Okay, so to really get our heads around the scale of this, let's break down exactly what we're dealing with here. So this stuff is called tailings. Basically, it's a slurry, a mix of finely ground rock, soil, and water. After you've taken out all the good stuff, the copper, the gold, the iron, this is what's left behind. And it has to go somewhere, right? It's stored in these enormous engineered structures called tailings facilities. And here's the kicker. They have to stay stable and safe forever. And the sheer amount of this stuff, it's just mind-boggling. We're talking about an estimated 13 billion tons of tailings generated every single year. I mean, that's almost impossible to picture. And what's wild is that number is only going to go up, especially with the huge demand for minerals for the clean energy transition. For a long time, this was kind of seen as just an industry problem. But that all changed, tragically, in January 2019. The catastrophic failure of a tailings dam in Brumadinho, Brazil, took 272 lives. It was an absolute disaster that sent a shockwave through the entire world. It was a wake-up call that you just couldn't ignore. So, in the wake of that tragedy, something pretty unprecedented happened. A global collaboration formed, bringing everyone to the table, the industry, the United Nations, major investors, all with one goal, to create a brand new blueprint for safety. And what they came up with was the Global Industry Standard on Tailings Management, or GISTM for short. And its goal? It's simple, but it's also absolute. Zero harm. This isn't just some boring technical manual, okay? It's a whole new way of thinking. It covers the entire life of a facility, from the drawing board to closure, and it weaves in social and environmental concerns right alongside the hardcore engineering. Now, this quote right here is really important. It shows the level of commitment we're talking about. The International Council on Mining and Metals and their members make up a full third of the entire global industry. They committed to getting all their facilities to meet this new standard. And like Dr. Gagan says, it sets a very high bar. It had to, given how critical the issue is. So, fast forward 5 years from when the standard was launched, and we've got the first big progress report. It's like the industry's report card. So, let's dive into the data and see what grade they got. Okay, so looking at 836 of these facilities run by the big players, the top line number is this. 2/3 are now in full conformance with the new standard. I mean, that's a huge step forward. But it also tells us that 1/3 are still working to get there. And this chart, it really shows you their game plan. They prioritized. You can see right here the facilities labeled extreme and very high risk. These are the ones where a failure would be absolutely devastating. They have the highest conformance rates, over 80%. It makes total sense, right? Tackle the biggest risks first. We're also seeing some really interesting differences from region to region. So in North America, where you have the most of these facilities, they're at 58% full conformance. But then you look at South America, where the Brumadinho disaster happened, and that number jumps way up to 83%. That shows a really clear, focused response right at the epicenter of the tragedy. So while that progress is definitely something to talk about, the report is also super clear that getting to 100% is not as easy as flipping a switch. It's been an incredibly tough slog, and they've run into some major real-world hurdles along the way. Yeah, see, getting everything up to code isn't just about spreadsheets and engineering diagrams. The journey has really been slowed down by 4 big challenges: a shortage of experts, an unstable climate, gaps in historical records, and, maybe the trickiest of all, doing meaningful community engagement. First up, the people problem. This global push for safety created this sudden, massive demand for specialized engineers and other experts. And well, there just weren't enough qualified people to go around and do all this work at the same time. Classic supply and demand. Second, you've got our evolving climate. We're seeing more extreme weather all the time, right? more intense storms, bigger floods. And that means the original designs for these massive structures, the old risk assessments, they have to be constantly updated. What was considered safe 10 years ago might not be safe anymore. And the third hurdle is a bit of a historical detective story. For some of the really old facilities built decades ago to totally different standards, the engineers today just don't have the complete records. They're missing key data from when they were built. So to prove they meet today's super strict requirements, they have to do a ton of investigative work to fill in those blanks. But look, the story doesn't just end with making existing facilities safer. That's just step one. Now let's get to what I think is the most exciting part. How all of this is pushing us toward a future where we might have a lot less of this waste, or maybe none at all. The whole industry is now shifting its focus to this long-term innovation game plan. The big idea? To actually design waste out of the system from the get-go. And the roadmap is pretty clear. Step 1, reduce how much tailings you make. Step 2, figure out how to reuse what you've got. And the ultimate prize, step 3, reimagine mining so you don't make any tailings in the first place. And this isn't just some fantasy on a whiteboard. Companies are already trying this stuff out. Anglo American is testing a waterless mine concept to make dry, stable landforms instead of those huge wet dams. In Brazil, a company called Hydro is drying its tailings and using them to backfill old mining pits, and then they reforest the whole area. Others are mixing different types of waste to create stronger material. And some are even exploring ways to get minerals out of the ground without creating traditional tailings at all. It's really groundbreaking stuff. So why should you care about all this? Well, here's the bottom line. Better, safer tailings management protects lives and the environment right now. That's the immediate win. But it also paves the way for a more sustainable, more secure supply of all the minerals we desperately need to build a cleaner future for everyone. When you step back and look at it, this entire global effort, which was born from such a terrible tragedy, it really shows us something important. It shows that even our biggest, most daunting challenges can spark incredible, transformative change. It's forcing us to rethink the entire way we get the materials that build our modern world. And it leaves us with a really big question to ponder. Can we actually innovate our way to a future where mining leaves nothing behind?